other than Wahu Kagwi, and she's in studio. First of all, I must say that I love the song.
Thank you so much.
The context, the video, but we're going to get into all that. But
Yeah.
first of all, thank you for coming this morning.
Thanks for having me, finally. Yeah. I've been trying to get onto your show.
Let's not go there. Let's not go there. Otherwise, we'll need to take a commercial break. But anyway, great to have you finally. And let's start with this particular song as your latest song. What inspired it?
So, Nifanane Nawe, what I love about this song is it's a prayer. It's a prayer telling God, God, Jesus, the Bible asks us to be more like Christ. And the more I think about those words, be more Christ-like, you understand why. Because the virtues that Christ has, ultimately, if everybody had them, the world would be such a beautiful place to live in, because Christ is love.
The boy, wants
exactly,
to take his drink
and then he's
gives
sharing kindness, thinking of others. The lady who is helping the blind guy to cross the street, just being thoughtful towards each other. And so that's what Nifanane Nawe, when you really think about it, that's what it really is about.
Okay, now there's this thing I call Christianese that, Christians speak in a certain way, and we sometimes are all found guilty of that.
What is Christianese?
Christianese is this, like now, for instance, I said, how are you doing? You'll tell me, oh, I'm so blessed, and somebody's
But I am.
Okay. But you are. And indeed you are. But tell me about the transition from where you are to where now you are, especially on your spiritual walk.
Yeah. Which is what is most important for me, and it should be for all of us. I think I can say that I am so happy with my walk with Christ. It's, ultimately, I've said it severally, my transition into gospel music was not a decision just that you wake up one day and say, oh, I want to move. No. This was after careful thinking, prayer, and really craving to be having a relationship with Christ. I've had a relationship with Christ for a very long time, but I was now at a point, I'd say now about 2 years ago, where I was renewing that relationship and basically I'd say rededicating my life to Christ. And out of that space is where I started realizing, or not realizing, feeling that I need to change even the kind of content that I'm singing. Just because I'm spending more time in the Bible, more time in prayer, and so I started to realize, I'm more comfortable moving to this kind of music. What
would you say brought about that? Because like you say, you are renewing your relationship with Christ, so it was already there. But there must have been something that now either happened or an experience that now made you think that, you know what, I really want to rededicate my life. And on top of that, I want the content to reflect this rededication.
So the rededication came as a result of, I don't know, what can I say? It was, I don't want to say sadness. I just want to say that it was more like just a realization that ultimately to fulfill my purpose, I have to be closer with Christ. And so to be closer with Christ, I have to spend more time with him. Really, a relationship is born out of that, spending more time with someone. So I started to spend more time with Christ, and that's how I realized, But mostly it was because I wanted to fulfill my purpose.
And what are some of those challenges? Because the other thing that I find that Christians, we don't talk about much is the challenges that we go through. What are some of those challenges that you think that, this is something that I have to let go because now I've rededicated my life and I want to walk with Christ, but this is still a challenge. It takes time.
I think it's mostly just not letting other people's opinion matter so much. What matters ultimately is what Christ says about me, what he says I should do, being him being the center, not thinking so much, okay, what are people going to say? That was something I really had to make a very conscious decision about, because even as I was moving into it, there was opinions, right, on both sides, from both the secular world and the gospel world of what I should do.
And I'm sure even some of your close friends must have been wondering, are you really sure you want to do this?
In terms of, they knew about my work, but in terms of the transition to the kind of content, there was a lot of discussions, let me call them discussions and deliberations about if this is the right thing to do. But I think it also came from a place of concern. I would say that. So, but ultimately, just I remember the transition, not the decision to rededicate my life. The transition caused a lot of both positive and negative things. You know, like people telling me, okay, so now this is how you should do this. This is how you should do it. I'm like, no, no, no. I did not do this. It wasn't like a strategy. My focus is on God. My focus is on Christ. And I'm going to take my direction from Christ, despite or in spite of who is telling me what they think I should do.
Anything else comes behind
It comes
that.
second. It comes second.
And now, how has your experience been now from doing secular music to doing now gospel music? Has there been like a huge difference?
In terms of?
In terms of right from production to how you write your songs to the response. I'm sure the response might.
I'd say I'm very excited about the kind of music that I'm doing now. I'm really excited, and like I keep telling my husband, it just feels right. I can't describe it any other way than it really does feel right to do the kind of music. I'll tell you, I mean, I'm not going to say I did bad music before. I'm not going to be that kind of person. But I'll say there was some songs that I thought twice about releasing. I've done lots. There's like my computer is full of stuff that is in production stages.
But never got to.
It never got out because before, you know, it was like a process. So you start looking and saying, okay, and also being a mother acts as a bit of a factor, very strong. So you look and you say, am I going to say these words
in front of my children?
And how will my child interpret? Am I going to be preaching water and drinking wine? Am I going to tell Tumiso, don't do what I've, you know, no, you know, let me explain. You know, I don't want to have to justify myself. So a lot of that, there's one particular song I keep thinking about. I'm not going to say what it was, but I remember I knew I was going to kill it. You know how the producer gave me the beat and I said, this song, with this beat, and what I will kill it. And for real, I wrote a killer song. I knew it, but I was not comfortable with it. And
because of the content?
Because of the content, really. And I'm like, not so much for anything, but I'm like, I have a vulnerable child who's looking up to me. Like, am I really going to say this?
So is your salvation because of your children?
No, no, no. I'll say this. When I became a mother, it started a journey for me. I realized that I don't want to mess up these children, and I need guidance from God. So I'll say it opened a door. And I remember when Tumisa was a very small baby, there's a time, she must have been about 7 months, the age where they start now to sit up. And I was with her, me, no one else, me. She was sitting, I was in my home office, and she was sitting on the table on a prop chair, on the desk on a prop chair, and I was working. And my child fell. Not in the care of a house girl. In my care.
Yeah, the mother is sitting there working.
The person who probably loves her the most. I realized it is God, ultimately it is God that takes care of children. And this God, I must be able to connect with him because I want this child that I've given birth to fulfill her purpose. And what I'll say is motherhood opened a door to have a closer relationship with Christ, you know. I remembered when I was a child how my mother used to pray. I'd wake up hearing her praying in the kitchen. We didn't have a big house. She's praying, and I started doing the same thing because I care about my kids. I won't say my salvation is because of my kids, but it's definitely brought me closer to say, because I'm like, God, I don't want to mess up. So guide me, give me wisdom.
The Bible does teach us we learn the spiritual from the natural. So I think as a mother, it also now reminds you that, hey, I may love this child as much as I can, but at the end of the day, I can't do everything and anything for them when God is not involved.
Absolutely. And I'll just say, like our kids, for my husband and I, they really determine a lot in terms of the content we're going to churn out. Like to me, so we'll come and say, I don't know, what have you just said there? And it becomes a real boardroom discussion. Okay, are you not comfortable with this? Are you feeling, and we'll go back to production, say, okay, I don't want 12-year-olds to be uncomfortable with what I'm churning out.
They act as a gauge for others, of course, because other children will be listening.
Yes, and you're like, okay, I don't want that. And these two are the ones that God has given me direct mandate over. And there's a lot more others out there that, you know, you don't want to mislead and you want to be protective over. So they act as a gauge, they act as a door as well to be closer with God, but it's not the reason why.
All right. Yeah. And musically speaking, where are you seeing yourself going? Because I know there was a time where you did a lot of music, then for some time there was a lull where you're not, you know, you didn't release some songs, then now you're back, and you're back with quite, this is your
third in a year. I'm so proud of me.
So you're really on a roll. Are you going to keep up the momentum?
I think it's going to go higher even. Like I told you, I'm really excited about the content that I'm churning out. I'm happy about it. It makes I'm happier, yeah? And definitely the momentum is going to stay there. And I keep saying, ultimately, I get my guidance from my Heavenly Father. So even the content that I'm doing is really going to come in terms of guidance from my Father, and because I believe that this is the thing He called me to do. So I just really want to get better at it and do the thing, and I'm really just asking Him, guide me, show me how you want me to do this thing.
I'll come to your purpose, because you've mentioned that several times on what your purpose is. But what would you say in terms of impact are your songs having? Because at the end of the day, I think all human beings really we may make money or not make money, but impact becomes a crucial conversation that we must have with ourselves about what we do in the world.
Yeah, impact-wise, for me, I feel the journey that I have as a human being is not unique to so many others, right? So my music helps to channel a feeling or a space that we need to be at. And I see it from my inboxes, from the comments, and from all the, different people telling me, yes, this song ministered to me, this song I was feeling down, this song has brightened my day. And that means something. That means something, because ultimately that's what it's all about. It's about that kind of impact. So I feel it. Yeah.
Okay, you feel it. And now coming to your purpose, and we've had many musicians who start off as musicians, and after that they have a Bible and pulpit, and they become the preacher. Is Wahu going to become a preacher?
I don't think so.
But we can't rule it out.
I highly doubt. But then again, I remember about 3-4 years ago, someone coming to tell me, Wahu, you will do gospel music, and I was like, I highly doubt. but I really
never
do
say
highly
never.
I don't think I will be. No.
You're not seeing yourself as a pastor.
Oh, no. I think everybody has their power, their gifting. So that one has its owners, and I respect them. This is mine, and I'm happy to work on it and get better at it.
And let's be honest, music is a very influential part of our society, and you can still minister through music.
Absolutely. And that's the idea about it, though,
All right, so I know apart from music, you are also head of a secretariat against corruption.
Yes.
And that's an area that maybe many people do not know that Wahu is also championing. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the multisectoral initiative against corruption is an initiative basically that it's many different sectors coming together and saying enough is enough, and we have to do our part as Kenyans to fight this social evil. And for me as an individual, I think again, coming back to me as a parent, when I look at the Kenya that my kids are growing up into, and they will be, in the next couple of years, Tumiso is going to be a taxpayer. She'll be a voter. I'm like, I can do as much as I can on a very individual level. I can work hard, take her to the best schools, but what is the platform she's coming out into? What is that context? Is it going to give her an equal chance against that kid growing up in China, or that kid growing up in South Africa or somewhere else? And that began to be a thing tagging on me. And so it was also a prayer. And I'd say, everybody, we can't keep pointing fingers at each other and saying it's so-and-so's fault that we are here, it's so-and-so's fault. We must all own up to our end of the stick.
Of what we need to do.
Exactly.
And the question then would be, we already have so many institutions and government organizations that are dealing with corruption. What is it that you see yourself doing differently?
Us guys, the multisectoral initiative, the whole idea is that the sector has to have a very introspective approach to the fight. So you're in media, for example. How does corruption pan out in the media industry, because we know it is there. We know it is there in the religious sector. How does corruption pan out in there? How has the religious sector enabled it? How has the women's sector enabled it? And you know, until you can own up to what we have done, you will never be able to fight corruption. So the idea is having an introspective conversation. After having an introspective conversation, we have a sector-based solution that we look and we say, these are the things now based on our context, these are the solutions that work for us. And this is how we are going to spearhead it. We're not coming up with a document and handing it over to the government, no. That has been done severally. Several reports have been done, and etc. We are now going to take this, what we have decided are our the way forward, and implement and spearhead it. Because ultimately, it is our country collectively. So we all have to take ownership and run with it. So the multisectoral initiative is not old. We've been around for just about a year. And now we've been having sector-based conferences. We just had the women's conference, we had the youth conference, we had the professionals conference, and we want to have basically a total of 11 sectors meeting and having that very, don't point fingers at somebody else. Youth, don't say you're not being invited to the table. You're 70% of the Kenyan population. Correct. So when we say we have corrupt leaders, let's be honest. Who has voted them? Yes. Who has voted them? Who has voted them? Let's own it up, and then we can say, this is how we are going to fight it.
Do you think you have the solution and the key that we've been waiting for in regards to corruption? Because this is something that we've had since independence. We have, and I keep referring to when M1 was the deputy president in 1968, there was a paper headlining Nation. You remember it? Yes, I remember. Not that you are there. No, I saw but it recently. I also posted it. I'm like, look at M1 in 1961. Saying that we're going to fight corruption. Take it head on. 50 years, the animal has got a grandchildren. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I'm like, the solution lies in all of us. We had the women's conference earlier on, and we're saying women's sector, the women of this country are 52%, right? 52%. That's a strong voice. It's a strong voice. We nurture. At the domestic level, we are responsible for instilling values. So when we talk about corrupt leaders, who raised them? The same. It's a very painful conversation, and it's a very painful ownership, but you have to, everybody, when we talk about the religious sector, and we say, we see it, corrupt politicians going to a pulpit because they've given X amount of money, they are sanitized in front of your audience. How is that godly? Is that or is that not corruption? Let us be very honest to ourselves so that we can be able to come up with real solutions. Otherwise, everything else is fictitious. Now, Wahu, I know I asked you whether you're going to become a pastor, and you said categorically no, but from the way you're talking, are you on your way to becoming a politician? Oh my goodness, no. None of the above are applicable in my life. In your life. I am just a passionate Kenyan, and I say that everybody has a circle of influence, and everybody, when you say accountability, we can't be a thing that exists in space. Hold your leader accountable. How? This is how you engage your MCA. This is how you do this, and I'm doing that as well. I'm playing my part. I invite you to play your part as well. I invite us all to play our part.